Public lands. That'll get everyone's blood flowing, won't it? I'll tell you that one of the jobs that I've had to do as speaker is I've had to get up to speed on issues that I haven't been as... I've known about them, we've talked about them, but in terms of the legislation and the things that I've worked on in my district, it's not been something I've been as closely involved in. But in this last year, I have observed and I have been privy to the work of our commission for the stewardship of public lands. This is a legislative commission, one with Republicans and Democrats that serve on it. And one of the things that they did this year, different than all the years that we've talked about public lands and all the politics involved, is they went out and they assembled what I would think a dream team of constitutional scholars and attorneys to take this issue and all of its arguments and boil it down and come back to this body and to this state and say, is it a real issue? Is it one that there is a reasonable way forward? And can that issue, if those two things are true, actually be won? I think that the case that has been brought before us by this legal dream team represents one of the smartest and one of the most practical and realistic ways for us to continue forward in this space. We talk about the Sage-Grouse Rebellion. Democrat Governor Matheson was and self-identified himself as a member of the Sage-Grouse Rebellion. This is an issue that does not have to be partisan. This is an issue that does not have to be filled with rancor and dissension. I'm convinced that the work with this commission on the stewardship of public lands and the efforts by these constitutional scholars and attorneys, coupled with our federal delegation, led by Congressman Rob Bishop, gives us our greatest chance to not only make this fight, but win this fight and see finally our public lands managed by this state. I'm just going to tell you, if you think this argument is frivolous, then you don't know the issue. If you think that this issue does not matter to every single one of us here in the state of Utah, then you need to think again. If you care about public education, you need to care about this issue. If you care about the environment and being good stewards of the environment, we all need to care about this issue. If we care about this economy and its growth, we need to care about this issue. If you care about energy independence, if you care about fundamental principles of fairness and freedom, you need to care about this issue. We, for too long, have talked past each other, had different ideas on how this could be accomplished, and all the while, Washington, D.C. continues to manage and control more than 65% of this state and 50% of 12 Western states. I will tell you that I hope that we can find a way forward together, because I've had it. I've had it with federal management or mismanagement. I've had it with a federal government that isn't close to the people and far away, suggesting that they can manage this state and its lands better than we could. I've had it with an attempt of what I'm going to just jump right into a little bit, of what I think could be as much as population control. 90%, I had to fact check this because when I saw this stat, I had a hard time believing it. 90% of our Utah population lives on 1% of the land. That's astounding to me. When you take 65% of the state and you understand that the state of Utah, since its pioneer days, has been a state that has continued to grow and continued to see people from across the country, even around the world, come to this state, the access to this state to build roads, to create infrastructure, and in our day and age now, to see technology infrastructure, fiber, be put across this state. When you're unable to do that, that limits the ability and the opportunity for your state to grow. Why is that important? Have you seen Washington, D.C.? Congress, at least its House of Representatives, is one that's influenced by population. Population decides in the numbers that are in the House of Representatives what they're going to do. Our access to the federal government is by the people that we send to Congress. When you have 38 states who combined see 5% of their state land federally controlled or managed. And then you go to 12 states and you see more than 50% of those states' land controlled and managed by the federal government. I'm here to tell you it's a form of gerrymandering. It is a way to slow the influence and the growth of these western states, and they are not being treated like our other states. The consolation prize for all this is PILT. Okay? We're not supposed to complain because we get these payment in lieu of taxes. Since we're not disposing of the land, we're going to go ahead and give you dollars that should make up for the fact that we're not doing it as we had always done before. There's another definition of this acronym of PILT, and I've heard. It's payment pennies in lieu of trillions. Okay? And I've come to see the reports. I believe that the natural resources, the management of the land, the environmental management and care of the land is better done by our state than by a large federal bureaucracy. And so I believe that. When we talk about trillions, this is the irony of all, and then I'll get off this topic. When you talk about trillions, we're talking about the management of this public lands by a federal government that is $19 trillion in debt. In the state of Utah, we balance our budgets. We are to believe that this government that carries a $19 trillion debt is in a better place and better suited to manage the lands inside this state. I don't accept it. In fact, I reject it. This body, Republicans and Democrats alike, we are closer to the people. We can manage this state. We can manage the public lands. We can do right by our constituents. And we don't need a federal government that is in that kind of debt, in that kind of condition, to tell us that we are unable as lawmakers and as a community to do what they're doing right now.